Ethan Harris stood at the edge of his porch, the crisp morning air biting at his face. The Colorado Rockies loomed in the distance, their snow-capped peaks gleaming under the early sun. He took a deep breath, feeling the familiar tug of the mountains, a call he could never quite ignore. It had been 5 years since the accident, since he lost Sarah on that unforgiving slope in the Himalayas. 5 years of battling guilt and grief, of trying to find solace in the mundane routine of everyday life. But the mountains were calling him again, and this time he couldn't resist. The letter had arrived 2 weeks ago, a formal invitation to join an expedition to Mount McKinley, known as Denali, the highest peak in North America. It was a challenging climb, fraught with dangers, but it offered a chance for redemption, a chance to prove to himself that he could still conquer the heights that had once defined his life. Ethan walked back inside, his mind made up. He would assemble a team and take on Denali. He started making calls, reaching out to old friends and new acquaintances, each chosen for their unique skills and unyielding spirit. First, there was Jack Walker, his best friend and climbing partner for over a decade. Jack had been with him on countless expeditions, their bond forged through shared triumphs and harrowing escapes. Jack's voice on the other end of the line was a comforting reminder of better times. "Ethan, you crazy son of a gun, count me in," Jack had said, his enthusiasm palpable. Next, Ethan contacted Lily Thompson, a young but talented environmental scientist whose passion for climbing was matched only by her dedication to preserving the natural world. Lily had a reputation for being fearless and relentless, her infectious enthusiasm breathing new life into every expedition she joined. When Ethan explained the plan, she didn't hesitate. "I'm in, Ethan, let's do this," she had replied, her excitement evident. Olivia Carter, a journalist with a knack for storytelling, was another vital addition to the team. Olivia had a way of capturing the essence of their climbs, turning their struggles and victories into compelling narratives that inspired countless readers. She agreed to join, eager to document their journey and bring the story of Denali's majestic yet perilous beauty to the world. Finally, Ethan reached out to Daniel Brooks, a logistical coordinator and medic who had a reputation for keeping teams safe and organized in the most challenging conditions. Daniel's calm demeanor and meticulous planning were crucial for the success of any expedition. "You've got my support, Ethan. Let's make this climb one for the books," Daniel had said, his voice steady and reassuring. With his team assembled, Ethan felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in years. The preparations began in earnest, each member bringing their expertise to the table. Jack and Ethan reviewed the climbing routes and potential hazards, their conversations filled with technical jargon and shared memories of past climbs. Lily focused on gathering environmental data and planning sustainable practices for their expedition, her passion for the cause driving her every move. Olivia documented their preparations, capturing the essence of their anticipation and the bond forming between the team members. Daniel, meticulous as ever, coordinated supplies, medical kits, and emergency protocols, ensuring they were prepared for any eventuality. As the day of departure approached, the team gathered for a final briefing at Ethan's cabin. The air was filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Ethan stood before them, his eyes scanning the faces of his team, each one reflecting determination and trust. "Thank you all for being here," Ethan began, his voice steady but emotional. "This climb means a lot to me, more than you might realize. We're not just climbing a mountain, we're pushing ourselves to our limits, facing our fears, and finding out what we're truly capable of. I know we can do this together." Jack clapped Ethan on the back, a reassuring presence at his side. "We've got this, buddy. We're with you all the way." Lily raised her fist in solidarity. "For the mountains and for the planet." Olivia and Daniel nodded in agreement, their resolve evident. As they set off on their journey to Denali, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. The mountain was calling, and this time he was ready to answer. Unbeknownst to them, the trials that awaited would test their strength, their unity, and their very will to survive. But in that moment, standing together at the start of their adventure, they were unstoppable. The team's journey to Denali began under a blanket of gray skies and an early morning chill that seeped through their gear. They boarded a small bush plane in Talkeetna, the last vestige of civilization before the vast wilderness of Alaska took over. The plane's engine roared to life, and as they lifted off, Ethan Harris watched the dense forests and winding rivers below shrink away, replaced by the towering presence of the Alaskan range. Their destination was Kahiltna Glacier, the starting point for many Denali expeditions. As the plane touched down on the icy runway, the team disembarked and were immediately hit by the biting cold and the stark beauty of their surroundings. Snow-capped peaks stretched as far as the eye could see, their sheer faces a testament to the mountain's formidable challenge. "Welcome to Denali," Ethan said, his voice barely audible over the wind. "This is where our adventure begins." The first few days were dedicated to acclimatizing to the altitude and preparing for the ascent. The team set up base camp, a bustling tent city filled with climbers from around the world. Ethan and Jack meticulously checked their equipment, ensuring everything was in perfect condition. Lily conducted environmental assessments, her scientific instruments capturing data on the glacier's health. Olivia, ever the storyteller, interviewed other climbers, collecting their hopes and fears for her articles. Daniel coordinated logistics, his calm efficiency a steadying influence on the group. As they began their ascent, the initial stages of the climb were manageable, though not without their challenges. The weather was unpredictable, with sudden gusts of wind and flurries of snow that obscured their path. The terrain was a mix of steep inclines and treacherous ice fields, each step requiring careful consideration and teamwork. Ethan led the group, his experience and steady presence guiding them through the difficult sections. But the physical and emotional toll of the climb soon began to weigh on him. Memories of Sarah flashed through his mind, her laughter, her determination, and the tragic day she slipped away from him. He pushed these thoughts aside, focusing on the task at hand, but the weight of the past was always there, just beneath the surface. Lily's infectious optimism was a beacon of light amidst the grueling conditions. She chatted animatedly, sharing interesting facts about the environment and stories from her previous expeditions. Her enthusiasm lifted the spirits of the team, reminding them why they were there. "Look at this place," she said one morning, pointing to the breathtaking vista of the glacier bathed in the golden light of dawn. "How can we not be inspired by such beauty?" Olivia captured every moment, her camera clicking away as she documented their journey. Her keen eye for detail and ability to capture the raw emotions of the climb added a layer of depth to their experience. "This is more than just a climb," she said one evening, reviewing her photos by the campfire. "It's a testament to human resilience, to our desire to push boundaries and explore the unknown." As they climbed higher, the challenges intensified. The air grew thinner, making every step a struggle. They navigated dangerous crevasses, their paths marked by the thin, deceptive layers of snow that could give way at any moment. Ethan's leadership was put to the test as he balanced his protective instincts with the need to push forward. One particularly harrowing day, they encountered a massive icefall. The path ahead was a maze of towering ice seracs and deep crevasses. Ethan and Jack took the lead, setting up ropes and anchors to guide the others safely through. The tension was palpable, each step carefully calculated to avoid disaster. Halfway through, Olivia lost her footing and slipped, dangling precariously over a crevasse. Ethan's heart raced as he and Jack quickly secured the ropes, pulling her back to safety. "You okay, Olivia?" Ethan asked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Olivia nodded, her face pale but resolute. "Just a reminder of how real this is," she said, forcing a smile. Thanks for saving me." The incident brought the team closer, a stark reminder of the dangers they faced and the trust they needed to place in each other. They pressed on, the physical and emotional toll of the climb evident in their weary expressions and slow, deliberate movements. Tensions occasionally flared, the strain of the climb and the harsh conditions testing their patience, but through it all, they remained united in their shared goal of reaching the summit. Ethan felt a growing sense of responsibility for his team, their trust in him a source of both strength and pressure. Lily's determination continued to inspire them. During a particularly grueling stretch, when the wind howled and the cold bit into their bones, she rallied the team with her unwavering spirit. "We can do this," she said, her voice cutting through the storm, one step at a time, together. As they neared the higher camps, the reality of their endeavor set in. The summit was within reach, but so were the most difficult and dangerous sections of the climb. Each night, as they huddled in their tents, Ethan reflected on the journey so far. The physical challenges were immense, but it was the emotional journey that truly defined their climb. The ascent had begun, and with it the promise of redemption, of overcoming the past, and of reaching new heights together. The mountain tested them, but it also brought out the best in them, forging a bond that would carry them through the trials ahead. The summit was still distant, a looming challenge that awaited them, but in that moment, as they stood together under the vast Alaskan sky, they were united by a shared purpose and an unbreakable resolve. The team had made significant progress, having ascended to the higher camps of Denali. The air was thinner, the temperatures colder, and the terrain more treacherous. But their spirits remained high, buoyed by the camaraderie they had built. Each step brought them closer to the summit, but also closer to the most dangerous part of their journey. It was midday when the avalanche struck. They were traversing a steep slope, the snow beneath their feet firm but unstable. Ethan was in the lead, carefully placing his steps when he heard the ominous rumble. He looked up just in time to see a wall of snow and ice cascading down the mountainside towards them. "Avalanche!" Ethan shouted, his voice barely audible over the roaring snow. The team scattered, each seeking the nearest shelter, but the avalanche was too fast, too powerful. The world turned white as the snow engulfed them, the force knocking Ethan off his feet and sending him tumbling down the slope. He dug his ice axe into the snow, desperately trying to slow his descent. When the avalanche finally subsided, Ethan lay buried under a layer of snow. He fought panic, focusing on the training that had saved his life so many times before. He created a small air pocket around his face and began to dig himself out. It was slow, arduous work, but he eventually broke through to the surface, gasping for breath. Around him, the team was emerging from the snow, shaken but miraculously uninjured. Jack was the first to reach him, his face a mix of relief and concern. "You okay, Ethan?" Ethan nodded, still catching his breath. "Yeah, I'm fine. Is everyone else okay?" Lily, Olivia, and Daniel signaled that they were all right, though their faces were pale and their movements shaky. The avalanche had left them scattered and disoriented, but they quickly regrouped, checking each other for injuries and assessing their situation. "We need to get out of this area," Daniel said, his voice calm but urgent. "There could be another avalanche." Ethan agreed, and they carefully made their way to a safer location, their movements slow and deliberate. The close call had rattled them, but it also reinforced their determination. They were in this together, and they would face whatever challenges the mountain threw at them. Their next obstacle was a massive ice fall, a labyrinth of towering ice seracs and deep crevasses. The path was treacherous, requiring them to navigate narrow ice bridges and climb steep walls of ice. Ethan and Jack took the lead, setting up ropes and anchors to guide the others through safely. The icefall tested their skills and patience. At one point, Olivia slipped and nearly fell into a crevasse, but Ethan's quick reflexes saved her, pulling her back to solid ground. "Thanks, Ethan," she said, her voice trembling with both fear and gratitude. "Just doing my job," Ethan replied, giving her a reassuring smile. "We're almost through this." As they reached the end of the icefall, the weather took a turn for the worse. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and the wind picked up, bringing with it a fierce snowstorm. They had no choice but to take shelter, setting up their tents and hunkering down to wait out the storm. The storm raged for days, the howling wind and blinding snow isolating them in their tents. With nothing to do but wait, the team found solace in each other's company. They shared stories, their voices barely audible over the storm outside. One evening, as they sat huddled together, Ethan opened up about his past. "I've never talked about this with anyone, but I think it's time," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. 5 years ago, I lost my wife, Sarah, on an expedition in the Himalayas. We were climbing a particularly dangerous route when she slipped and fell. I couldn't save her. I've carried that guilt with me ever since." The team listened in silence, the weight of Ethan's words hanging in the air. Lily reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Ethan, I can't imagine how hard that must have been for you. But you can't blame yourself. You did everything you could." Jack nodded in agreement. "We've all lost people we care about, Ethan. It's part of the risk we take as climbers, but we honor their memory by continuing to do what we love." Olivia added, "Your story, Ethan, it's powerful. It's a reminder of why we're here, why we push ourselves to these limits." Daniel, always the pragmatist, said, "And remember, Ethan, we're a team. We've got each other's backs, no matter what." Ethan felt a sense of relief, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Sharing his story and hearing the support from his friends gave him renewed strength. The storm outside continued to rage, but inside their tent, they were a united front, ready to face whatever came next. The storm eventually passed, but it had taken a toll on their supplies. They were low on food and fuel, their situation growing more precarious by the day. They had to ration their resources, stretching every meal and conserving every drop of fuel. Despite the hardships, the team's resolve never wavered. They improvised, using what they had to survive. Lily found ways to melt snow for drinking water, while Daniel used his medical supplies to treat minor injuries and ailments. Jack and Ethan scouted ahead, planning their next moves with precision and caution. Through it all, they remained focused on their goal, the summit of Denali. The mountain had thrown its worst at them, but they were still standing, still fighting. They had faced their trials and tribulations, and they had come out stronger on the other side. As they prepared to continue their ascent, Ethan looked at his team with a sense of pride and gratitude. They had become more than just climbing partners. They were a family, bound by their shared experiences and unwavering determination. The summit was still far off, but with each other's support, Ethan knew they could make it. The trials they faced had only strengthened their resolve, and together they would conquer Denali. The storm had finally passed, leaving a pristine but unforgiving landscape in its wake. The team emerged from their tents, blinking in the bright sunlight that glistened off the snow. They were tired, their supplies were low, but their spirits were high. The summit of Denali loomed above them, tantalizingly close, yet still so far. Ethan called the team together. "We've come this far, and we're not turning back now. This is it, the final push. We've faced so much already, but we need to dig deep and find that last bit of strength to reach the top." The team nodded, their resolve evident. They packed up their camp, each movement slow and deliberate as they conserved their energy. The air was thin, making every breath a laborious task. Altitude sickness was a constant threat, and they monitored each other closely for signs of trouble. As they climbed, Olivia began to struggle. She was slower than usual, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Ethan watched her with concern. By the time they reached a rest point, it was clear she couldn't continue. "Ethan, I'm not sure I can make it," Olivia admitted, her face pale and drawn. "I don't want to hold the team back." Ethan's heart ached. He knew how much this climb meant to Olivia, how determined she was to document their journey. But her health was deteriorating rapidly, and he couldn't risk her life. He made a tough call. "Olivia, I need you to go back to base camp with Daniel. Your safety is more important than anything else." Olivia's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "I understand, Ethan. I trust your judgment." Daniel stepped forward, his expression serious. "I'll make sure she gets back safely. You focus on the summit." They shared a brief, emotional farewell, and then Ethan, Lily, and Jack continued their ascent. The climb grew steeper and more challenging, the thin air and dwindling supplies taking their toll. Each step was a test of endurance and willpower. As they approached the final stretch, they encountered a particularly perilous section of the mountain. The path was narrow and lined with sheer drops, the icy ground treacherous underfoot. Ethan led the way, setting ropes and anchors to ensure their safety. "Stay close and trust the ropes," Ethan instructed, his voice steady despite the danger. "We're almost there." Lily and Jack followed, their movements synchronized and careful. They worked together seamlessly, each trusting the other with their lives. At one point, Lily slipped, her foot losing traction on the icy slope. She dangled precariously, the rope holding her in place. "Ethan!" she called, fear in her voice. Ethan and Jack acted quickly, securing the rope and pulling her back to safety. "You okay, Lily?" Ethan asked, his heart pounding. Lily nodded, her breath coming in short bursts. "Yeah, just a scare. Thanks, guys." They pressed on, their determination unshaken. As they climbed higher, they came across a memorial, a collection of plaques and mementos left by climbers who had perished on Denali. The sight was a sobering reminder of the risks they faced and the sacrifices made by those who came before them. Ethan paused, his eyes scanning the names etched into the metal. "This is why we do it," he said quietly, "to honor their memory, to push our limits, to live fully." Lily and Jack stood beside him, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. The physical and mental exhaustion was immense, but so was their resolve. They were more than just climbers. They were part of a legacy, a testament to human endurance and spirit. The final push to the summit was the hardest. The air was so thin it felt like breathing through a straw, and their muscles screamed with every step. But they kept going, driven by their shared determination and the support they gave each other. As they neared the summit, Ethan felt a surge of emotion. Memories of Sarah flooded back, her laughter, her passion for climbing. He knew she would be proud of him, proud of what they had accomplished. With a final burst of energy, they reached the top. The summit of Denali was breathtaking, the world stretching out beneath them in a panorama of snow and sky. Ethan, Lily, and Jack stood together, their faces lit with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. They had done it. They had conquered Denali. Ethan looked out over the vast expanse, a sense of peace washing over him. The climb had been about more than reaching the top. It had been a journey of healing, of facing fears, and of finding strength in each other. As they began their descent, Ethan knew they were forever changed by the experience. They had faced the mountain's trials and tribulations and emerged stronger, bonded by their shared adventure. The summit was not just a destination, but a symbol of their resilience, their unity, and their unbreakable spirit. The summit of Mount McKinley, Denali, stretched out beneath Ethan, Lily, and Jack, a breathtaking panorama of pristine snow and endless sky. They stood in silence, each absorbing the moment in their own way. The air was crisp and clear, the wind a gentle whisper compared to the roaring storms they had faced. They had made it. They had conquered Denali. Ethan gazed out at the horizon, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment and awe. The climb had tested every ounce of his strength and resolve, but it had also given him something he had desperately needed: closure. The memory of Sarah, always a shadow on his heart, felt lighter now. He could almost hear her voice in the wind, encouraging him, telling him to live in the present. Lily turned to Ethan and Jack, her eyes shining with joy and tears. "We did it," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "We really did it." Jack grinned, his usual confident demeanor softened by the magnitude of the moment. "Yeah, we did. And it was worth every step." They hugged, the bond forged through their shared struggle and triumph solidifying their friendship. The summit was a symbol of their resilience, a testament to their unwavering determination. As they began their descent, the physical toll of the climb became evident. Their muscles ached, their energy reserves depleted, but their spirits were high. Each step down was a reminder of the journey they had undertaken and the challenges they had overcome. Ethan found himself reflecting on the entire expedition, the initial excitement and planning, the harrowing avalanche, the storm that had forced them to huddle together for days, and the perilous icefall. Each moment had tested them, but it had also brought them closer together. Lily chatted excitedly as they descended, her voice a constant source of encouragement. "Can you believe we actually did it? I mean, look at where we are." Jack laughed, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "Yeah, I can believe it. We're a damn good team." As they neared base camp, they saw Olivia and Daniel waiting for them. Olivia's face broke into a wide smile as she saw them approach. "You made it!" she exclaimed, running to greet them. Daniel's relief was evident in his eyes. "Welcome back, climbers. You did it." The reunion was emotional, filled with hugs and laughter. They shared stories of their journey, each detail bringing them closer. Olivia's health had improved after returning to base camp, and she listened intently, her journalist's mind already framing the narrative she would write. That evening, they gathered around a campfire, the warmth a comforting contrast to the cold they had endured. Ethan felt a deep sense of gratitude for his team. They had faced incredible challenges, but they had done it together. Olivia raised a mug of hot cocoa. "To Ethan, our fearless leader, and to all of us, for facing our fears and conquering Denali." They toasted, the mugs clinking softly in the night air. Ethan looked around at his friends, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. The climb had been about more than just reaching the summit. It had been a journey of personal growth, of healing, and of finding strength in each other. As they sat around the fire, sharing stories and laughter, Ethan realized he was ready to let go of the past and embrace the present. The mountain had given him a gift, a chance to start anew. The next day, they began their journey back to civilization. The descent was arduous, but their spirits were high. They had faced Denali and emerged victorious, forever bonded by their shared adventure. As they parted ways, promises to stay in touch were exchanged. Ethan knew that their bond would endure, forged in the crucible of their climb. Each of them had grown in their own way, and they carried with them the lessons and memories of their time on Denali. Ethan stood at the edge of the trail, watching as his friends disappeared down the path. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the mountain lift from his shoulders. The climb was over, but its impact would stay with him forever. He turned and began his own journey down the trail, the future bright before him. He had found peace on Denali, and with it, the strength to move forward. The mountain had called, and he had answered, finding redemption, closure, and a new beginning along the way. The